Hey everybody, happy Wax on Wednesdays. Today I'm just sort of playing around with some of my favorite techniques and I wanted to share them with you, and this is some of my favorite things to do for texture and mark making here with Encaustic, and I'm just jumping right in here with a glue burn on these 4x4 cradle boards, and there's plenty of Wax on Wednesdays videos dedicated solely to these glue burns. So if you want to see more, you like them, then make sure and check those videos out. Here I'm applying it all over, and then I'm going to take the back of the brush and just make some texture right back into the glue. It's a really fun way to get some great texture down before you start adding your encaustic layers. And you can use either the torch or the heat gun. They'll both do the same thing. The heat gun is a little bit more controlled. I'm never lighting it on fire. I am just sort of really slowly toasting the top of that glue and just giving it that really beautiful caramel color burn that's so pretty in these glue burns and looks so wonderful. It's a great texture too, and it really is wonderful to peek back through those encaustic layers and see that beautiful glue burn. And it's just one of my favorite techniques, and it takes a few minutes. This is a sped up video, so it does take a few minutes to get that effect, and then you can do a really light caramel, you can do a really deep caramel. It's all up to you and how long you want to continue with that burn, but you do want to make sure that you have great ventilation when you do this, or do it outside in the garage or something like that where you're not breathing in those fumes. So here I'm just adding a coat of clear encaustic medium to each of these and fusing before I get started. And also, if you'd like some step-by-step instructions on how to do these glue burns, plus some really fun ways to apply them, then Encausticology 101 online course has an extensive section on these glue burns, as well as tons of other encaustic techniques. You can jump in anytime with lifetime access to the course on sherryreplogle.com, and I'll leave a link below the video so you can check out all the details on that course. So here I'm just applying some white encaustic paint, and it depends on how much, and this is some indigo encaustic paint, which is my favorite color, so that's the color I'm using today. And I think that indigo looks so great with the toasty caramel color of that glue burn. It's two of my favorite things to use together, is this indigo encaustic paint and that glue burn together. And here you can apply as many layers as you want. You can apply a couple thick layers so it completely covers up the glue burn. You can use just a thin layer so you can still see it back through. At some point here, I decide I'm fusing it right now, but I make the choice to do one of my other favorite techniques, which is what I call over fusing. And this is mixing these paints, and here I go with the heat gun. You can do it. The heat gun I like better. I put it on a very low setting, and I can manipulate and move the wax from here with that heat gun, and I really love this process. You can especially with the glue burn underneath, because you're exposing parts of that glue burn and moving the paint around, changing the composition constantly, and it's one of my really favorite things to do with encaustic. And I get a little carried away. I'm only working on 2 pieces here, and I really should, especially with the size, how small they are, I should probably be working on about 6 and letting them rest in between, because if you overfuse too much, you can start getting a mud. Depending on what colors you're using, you can start really interlacing those colors a little bit too much. So the cooler your piece is in between this, the more control you'll have with mixing those colors. And especially now I'm just using white and blue, so what's the worst that's going to happen? I'm not going to ever create mud. And that's a great thing to do when you're first starting off with this over fusing method, is to use your favorite color and white, because you're never going to create mud. Now I'm going to mix that blue a little bit too much, and what I'm going to have is a diluted blue, which really isn't great for my composition to have too much of that. I like a very bold indigo and of course a bold white space with a little bit of that glue burn showing through. But this is so fun, as you can see, and I don't have it I only have it on 2 times sped up here, so you can actually see that wax move a little bit, and I don't want to bore you to death with that, but it's so fun to watch that wax kind of do what it's gonna do on its own. You have control of which way you're blowing it, but then it's just gonna do what it's gonna do, and it's so fun to watch. And like I said, these pieces are so small, they're 4x4, so they're going to stay warm for quite some time. So if you have a larger piece, then it's going to cool down faster and you can manipulate it a little bit more. These are going to stay hot, and so they can get diluted really, really easily. And you can see that right here in this piece where I've got that sort of diluted blue. And if I would have let it cool down just a little bit more, I could keep it a little bit more contrasted. But I just love to, you can get really carried away because I just love to see the wax move. Now you can always fix this. You can continue to change this over and over and over and over by adding, you can add more white, add more blue, add nothing and just add heat it up again with your heat gun and move it again. There's so many different ways. You can never go wrong with this, and you can never make a mistake, and that's why this method is so much fun, especially if you're just starting out in encaustic and you're getting used to fusing, and you're getting used to the wax heating up and cooling down. This is a great process for beginners, and I often use it in my workshops as a beginning process to really get yourself familiar with the wax and how it moves and what it's going to do. And what better way to do it than by overfusing and letting it do exactly what it wants to do, and you get such a good feel for its melting point and things like that, so you can go on and move on to processes a little bit more delicate where you don't want the wax to move around so much. So this is a great beginner process, but it also it just stays fun forever. You can really never get tired of this. You can use different colors and different textures underneath. So there's infinite number of ways that you can have fun with this. There's a million different ways the wax can move. So there's a million different ways to have fun with this process. And you can see right here, there's a little bit, you can see that diluted blue, and I'm adding some more white. And of course, the more that you let your piece cool down, then the less possibility that you're going to have for that over that sort of mixing of the colors. And as you go, just heat it less and less and less, sort of tweaking your composition and building up as you go. And the great part about this is that there's absolutely no mistakes. So you can change your mind, you can reheat it again, you can change it completely, and there's never any mistakes to this process. It's completely infallible. So that is one of the fun things, and I decide later on in these pieces to change them again. You can scrape back into them, you can add different things, and I'm going to move on and add some really fun mark making. It's one of my favorite ways to add marks on top of the wax. So here I'm just taking a Faber-Castell pencil and some regular copy paper. You can't write with pencil right on top of the encaustic, and it's unfortunate when you're building up a wonderful piece. You want to make some marks like you would maybe if in an acrylic abstract painting, and you can't because that pencil is going to sink right in. Well, all you have to do is take out a piece of any paper that I'm using, copy paper, and write what you want and make a mark. Burnish it with a spoon. You don't have to burnish as much as a photograph or something like that where you have to push really hard. You really don't have to push hard at all on a slightly warm surface. With this pencil, it comes off really, really well. And you can, of course, I'm just writing gibberish here. I'm not writing anything that makes sense because I don't know how to write backwards. So anything, if I wrote words out or cursive writing, it would of course have a mirror image and come out backwards. Now you can use a laser copy and copy any sort of text or writing or anything like that. Just put mirror image before you print it out, and then you can burnish that down and do the same thing with a spoon and have the same effect on a laser copy. But here's this way to get some mark making with graphite, and graphite is one of my favorite ways of mark making when I'm painting, and I just love the look and feel of graphite, and this is one way I could get graphite onto my encaustic surface. So it's really one of my favorite things to do. And of course you can make as much or as little marks with this graphite as you want. You can cover it up later with the wax. You can completely take it off. Another fun thing is to use a water-soluble pencil with this, and to take a brush and move the graphite around once it's on the encaustic surface. So many fun things that you can do with these graphite marks. And if you'd like to see all of the supplies that I used this week, then you can check out the full blog post for this video on sherryreplogle.com, and I'll leave a link below directly so you can link to the blog post for this video. And I always list all of the supplies I use each week in the Wax on Wednesdays videos. There's so much mark making opportunity with this graphite. I do fuse it in lightly to a glisten when I'm done with my mark making, just to make sure that it's incorporated into the wax, but it gives that wonderful grungy look to it. And as I buff it out a little bit, sometimes it smudges a little bit, and I like that even better, that sort of smudgy, grungy look to go with this, especially with the glue burn and the blue. I also like to do black and white with the graphite as well. It's just another fun mark making element. It adds interest to a black and white piece, and that's really fun as well. And that smudgy look with the graphite really depends on what graphite pencil that you're using. So if you're using a softer pencil or a water-soluble graphite pencil, it's going to, of course, smudge more when you rub it than a harder graphite pencil. So keep that in mind. You can use any graphite pencil and have achieved different looks with different types of pencils as well, so that's really fun. And I'm scraping back in here with a clay tool and revealing a little bit more. I decided that I wanted to, again, change the composition a little bit. I let them cool down completely and decided that I wanted to tweak it some more, and that is the great part about this process, again, is that there are no mistakes, and you can continue to build and tweak as you go. So I stepped away for a few hours and decided that I wanted to reveal a little bit more of the glue burn, and also get rid of some of that more diluted blue, and add a little bit more of stark contrast. And here I love that toasty glue burn showing through just a little bit. It gives that little bit of rust color that is a beautiful complement to the indigo, and just got rid of that sort of diluted muddy blue, and gave it a little bit more white contrast to it. And here I'm going to reveal quite a bit more of the glue burn, and I already have that clear layer. It's already embedded with wax, so that's why it has this great sort of textured look. You've got that wax embedded into the recesses of the glue burn, and gives it a beautiful and really interesting texture. So I hope that you really had a lot of fun with this Wax on Wednesdays, and we will see you next week. Happy Wax on Wednesdays.